What's up, New York Mets fans? It's your boy CP here, back with another episode of the True Mets Talk podcast. I do apologize. I am not in my usual setup today. Still trying to get adjusted with the setup, the lighting, all that good stuff. But I figured I'd give an update here in terms of what's going on with the New York Mets and what's going on around the league here on January 8th. So we're going to be talking all about that today. We'll get into the Shawn Manaea signing. We'll get into a little bit of DH, a little bit of bullpen, all that good stuff as it pertains to the New York Mets. Did the Mets Hot Stove live yesterday, last night with Talking Mets with Rob. Have all of my thoughts, my preliminary thoughts that I'm going to be reiterating in this podcast episode back on that live stream. So go ahead and make sure you check that out. It's going to be in the description down below and all that good stuff. Make sure to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and comment your thoughts and opinions about everything and anything that we talk about today. Your input is certainly welcome. Let's have a discussion in the comment section. I reply to everybody, and there is no one size fits all answer. And make sure you're following me for more podcast updates at CPNY Sports on both X and Instagram. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. The last time that we talked on this podcast, the True Mets Talk podcast, I released my episode maybe about a half hour after Harrison Bader signed with the New York Mets. And since then, we got another signing to talk about, and that is Shawn Manaea. This is actually the second time on this podcast that I am talking about Shawn Manaea. Released a Ryu and Manaea sort of collab video talking about the potential fit with the Mets a couple days before this signing actually happened. So if you wanted to hear my thoughts and opinions pre the Manaea signing on Shawn Manaea, make sure you go check out that episode. I'm going to link that also in the description down below. A lot of episodes, if you haven't been tuning into the podcast, that you've missed on my channel regarding the New York Mets over the last maybe 3 or 4 days. So make sure you're going ahead and checking that out. But like I said, Shawn Manaea agrees to a deal with the New York Mets for 2 years, $28 million. There is an opt-out after the first year, and it is a $14 million per year deal, which honestly, at this point in the season, looking at what Lucas Giolito got with the Boston Red Sox, obviously the Mets were in on Giolito as well. Giolito making $19 million per year with the Red Sox, has similar numbers ERA-wise to Shawn Manaea in 2023. I think this is a steal of a deal. I do think the Mets needed another left-hander in the rotation to go along with Jose Quintana, and that's why I was a big advocate for Shawn Manaea, so I'm happy that this deal is done. Here's your 2024 projected rotation. Listen, it's not pretty. After Kodai Senga, it's not pretty. I understand that. And honestly, there are conflicting reports whether or not the New York Mets are going to be continuing to go after starting pitching. Will Salmon from The Athletic is saying that the Mets, after this Shawn Manaea signing, are essentially done in terms of the starting pitching market. And then you have other reports like your mainstream guys, Sherman, Morosi, all that good stuff. All those guys are saying that the Mets are still on maybe an Imanaga and maybe some of the bigger names, which I highly doubt. I've been speculating for a long time that Shota Imanaga is not going to happen. Knowing what we know now about this offseason and how the Mets front office views this 2024 season as that quote-unquote bridge year, it's undeniable. I don't see an Imanaga signing happening. There's no way Montgomery or Snell are coming to the Mets this offseason. So I really do think, unless it's a trade for maybe a tier B type starter, right? We're not talking about a Dylan Cease or a Corbin Burns. We're talking about, for example, a Mitch Keller or a Nick Pivetta from the Red Sox. I can see a trade like that still happening because, quite frankly, what I see on my screen here in terms of a projected starting rotation for the Mets in 2024, I am still not comfortable. Behind Kodai Senga, you have Quintana, who served as the fourth in the rotation for the 2023 New York Mets, going to be the number 2 as of right now in That worries me. Severino's workload worries me. Coming off of a 6.8 north of a 6.8 ERA last season. I think that he does have a bounce back year, but to slot him in at that third spot automatically in 2024 does worry me. Shawn Manaea, obviously, I was an advocate for the signing, and I'm not going to go back on that. But him being a fourth starter in this rotation also worries me. Then you have Adrian Hauser, who's nothing more than a fifth starter in his projected spot. And then you have Joey Lucchesi, who's sort of a wild card for how the Mets sort of handle this rotation moving forward, whether they're going to go with the 6-man or stick with the 5-man. Lucchesi can be your floater. I have no problems with Lucchesi being in the starting rotation. But my main point is that if any one of these guys goes down, Quintana has an injury history. Severino has an injury history. Kodai Senga, year 2, still making those adjustments. Is he going to pitch every 5th day for the New York Mets? These are all questions and all worries that I have for the starting rotation for the New York Mets as of January 8th, 2024. And like I said, you have the depth pieces in Jose Butto, Tyler McGill, and David Peterson right behind. But quite frankly, I'm sick and tired of seeing those guys. I'm sick and tired of it. So that's your projected rotation. Shawn Manaea, power fastball, 97 to 98. Obviously went to the pitching lab. Driveline baseball, gained 5 miles per hour between 2022 and 2023 on that fastball. Has a pretty good arsenal, evenly distributed arsenal of off-speed pitches with great run value on those off-speed pitches. So I do think that Shawn Manaea has a better season statistically than what we saw last season with that 4.44 ERA. But keep in mind that he was a better pitcher in the second half of 2023. So, like I said, just reiterating, rehashing my thoughts on this signing and this rotation moving forward for the 2024 New York Mets. It's feasible. It's serviceable for 2024. Would I like to see another name come on the board via trade or free agency? Yes, for protection purposes, whether it's a short-term deal or not. I think that's all the Mets are going to be offering up this offseason from now until the end of it. But like I said, this at face value does worry me. And do the New York Mets truly believe in a Tyler McGill or Jose Butto to step up if any one of these guys goes down? I guess that remains to be seen with how they play out the rest of the offseason. So let's move on. A little bit of external news around the league. The Los Angeles Dodgers, as of last night, the very first thing that I did after I got off the Mets Hot Stove Live with Rob last night was check my Twitter, and I saw the passing bomb that Teoscar Hernandez signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers for 1 year, $23.5 million. This is a guy that I did cover earlier on in the season, the offseason on the channel, in terms of potential outfield, left field / DH target for the New York Mets. But given the type of player that Teoscar Hernandez is, his power and his overall success rate, I know he had a little bit of a down 2023 compared to his standards when he was with the Blue Jays, but nonetheless, a very capable ball player. I thought that he was going to be going after a multi-year deal. And boy, was I wrong. 1 year, $23.5 million, and the rich get richer in terms of the MLB offseason pertaining to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, the New York Mets are still looking after that DH type bat for 2024. In the wake of an abysmal DH spot for the 2023 New York Mets with a platoon of Vientos and Daniel Vogelback, what sort of production can they go out after in this open market and get? Now, Jorge Soler is a name that intrigues me from the power perspective to slot behind Pete Alonso. It still is a question mark on what his market is. Is he going to get that 3-year deal that he presumably wants, or are teams not going to budge on that and they are going to sort of offer him up and sort of force him to sign that 1 year, maybe 2-year deal with the opt out after the first year? That remains to be seen, and that is going to directly influence how active in terms of engagement the New York Mets are with Jorge Soler in his camp. JD Martinez and Justin Turner are a lot more feasible options. As you all know, if you listen to any of our Mets Hot Stove Lives, any of these True Mets Talk podcast episodes when I was going over the DHs, weeks ago, I personally, at this juncture of the offseason, right, I personally prefer Justin Turner with how versatile and how balanced of a hitter he is. And I think a lot of people underrate his power. I know he only had 23 home runs last season compared to JD Martinez's 33, but I do think that Justin Turner is still capable of giving you 25 plus home runs in the workload and sample size that we see from him. 146 games appeared in for the Boston Red Sox last season compared to JD Martinez's 113 games. Give me that all fields hitter, and Justin Turner sprays the right center field gap, is able to spray that left center field gap as an overall complete hitter. I understand the age is a factor. This is a guy you're not going to sign to a 3-4 year deal. You're signing him to a 1-2 year deal max if he commands that second year, which I am also still comfortable in giving Justin Turner. But I want a guy that's going to appear in a boatload of games, right? And that is a bigger question mark for JD Martinez than it is Justin Turner. And two, I want a balanced hitter. Justin Turner hits for average. He hit 276 last season, is capable of hitting for even a higher average in 2024. I firmly believe that. Now, that's not to say JD Martinez can't do that. And that's not to say that JD Martinez can't do everything that Justin Turner does. But what I see out of Justin Turner as a complete hitter overall, I like more so than JD Martinez. And listen, JD Martinez is coming off of a hell of a season. An all-star in each of the last 2 or 3 seasons. I believe it's 3 seasons, which is impressive within itself. Hit 271 last season, right? That's not too far off from 276 that Justin Turner hit. And he hit 33 bombs in 113 games in LA. A phenomenal season. He's 35 going on 36 years old. So you have to look at it as, is he going to take a 1 or 2 year contract, or is he going to command maybe 3 years from a team? And I think that is what separates these two guys. Justin Turner is undeniable, 39 years old. We're not looking for him to play any sort of position unless Brett Beatty needs a day off, unless Pete Alonso at first base needs a day off. If Jeff McNeil goes down, he's able to play second base. He's a versatile defender, but he's 39 years old. He's not going to be playing in the field. So that's where my mind's at in terms of the whole JD Martinez versus Justin Turner type sort of situation that we're getting ourselves into here. Am I going to cry and moan and all that good stuff and complain about, the Mets situation if they get JD Martinez? Hell no. Because any one of these guys on this list is better than Daniel Vogelback in 2023. A Mark Vientos in 2023. Now, it remains to be seen if the Mets truly do want to give Mark Vientos that full-time opportunity to see what he's got in this bridge year in 2024. That's a whole other story altogether. And I won't go down that avenue because yes, it's still feasible, but if we are in the business of trying to win games in 2024, that should not be the case. Mark Vientos should not be the opening day DH. And then obviously, a name that we haven't talked about too much just because he has played for an in-division rival and his situation's sort of murky. But if he's open to a 1-year prove-it deal with the New York Mets, I would 110% be on board with Rhys Hoskins coming over to Queens and playing under a prove-it year deal coming off that major knee injury in spring training of last season that made him miss all of 2023. I think Rhys Hoskins' bat is probably better suited than any one of these guys on this list above him to slot right behind Pete Alonso. So, but the reason why I haven't talked about Rhys Hoskins is like, is he really going to take that 1-year deal? Is he going to take that prove-it-year deal? I'm not so convinced. I still think he can play his way into a 2 or 3 year deal given his sample size with the Phillies. But stranger things have happened. If we're talking about if the Mets get wind of Rhys Hoskins and his agent looking for a 1-year deal in order to prove himself coming off of a major injury like that knee injury, in order to get himself a bag in the 2025 offseason, then by all means, give me Rhys Hoskins. I'm not going to complain one bit. But for me, I think these middle two guys in JD Martinez and Justin Turner are the most viable. And keep an eye out on the Soler and Hoskins contract market. And if we gained wind of any sort of happenings surrounding that, we will definitely come back on here and update you all. But like I said, this Teoscar Hernandez deal definitely caught me by surprise. Did not think he was going to be in the market for a 1-year deal, and more power to him. He stated his reasoning for signing with the Dodgers is him wanting to win, and he was willing to sign with the contender for 1 year. And that just wasn't going to happen with the New York Mets. They're not contenders. I will not, come on here and try to, I guess, persuade your guys' minds that the Mets are contenders. They're a fringe wild card team. And they're not even a fringe wildcard team right now. They still need 2 to 3 pieces to make them a fringe wildcard team. So that's where the New York Mets are at in terms of the lineup. But like I said, if you add one of these guys in a JD Martinez or Justin Turner, if you get a rejuvenated season from a Starling Marte, any sort of production beyond what Brett Beatty showed in 2023, year 2 Francisco Alvarez, this lineup is a whole lot better. It's in a whole lot better shape than the 2023 Mets lineup. I firmly do believe that. Now, those are huge ifs. Those two are huge ifs. The Brett Beatty production and the Starling Marte resurgence. Those are two huge ifs. But if those things come to fruition, right, then the Mets lineup is not as bad of a position. They're not in as bad of a position as we are all making it sound to be. And everything that I've heard on Twitter, on YouTube, in the live comment section whenever we go live, it's not as bad. But like I said, devil's advocate, those are huge ifs. So let's go ahead here, talk about the bullpen before we round things out here. We have some bullpen targets for the New York Mets, presumably needing to add one definitely bullpen piece, if not two, right? I think the solidified bullpen in the front end is definitely going to be Brooks Raley and Drew Smith. We don't have an eighth inning guy yet, and we have Edwin Diaz coming back off of an injury for that closer role. Listen, Edwin Diaz hasn't appeared in a ball game since early 2023 in the World Baseball Classic. That 5-out save situation, 4-out save situation that he was able to produce for the Mets in 2022 in that 101 win season more often than not is not going to be the same case in 2024. It's simply not. You have to slowly ramp him up into that sort of production. So the Mets need to prioritize a lockdown eighth inning guy. Now, who is going to be that guy, given that the Mets are unwilling to sign guys for long-term deals? I've been saying from the start that I would like Hector Neris to be that guy. I received some pushback on that thought. I understand Hector Neris's Philadelphia Phillies days are a concern. I think he definitely did figure it out in Houston, and he will bring experience being mid-30s with that pitching lab in Houston, having experienced that. Having experienced the World Series, I think all that plays well for the New York Mets in 2024 if they bring on a guy like Hector Neris. Now, I was asked last night if I had to pick any two combos for the New York Mets to go after in this offseason, realistically, who would it be? Rob asked me that question last night, and it took me a second. There was a long pause because I really needed to think about it. But I really do think the Mets need a left-hander and a right-hander before the offseason's done for the bullpen. And the answer that I gave is the second and third guys on your screen, David Robertson and Wandy Peralta. Now, David Robertson signed a one-year $10 million deal with the New York Mets back before 2023 began. He's a veteran, approaching 40 years old. His statistics in the first half with the Mets compared to the second half with the Miami Marlins when he went over there via trade were night and day. If he's open to a reunion for anything less than $10 million, which at this point in his career, I think is certainly plausible and feasible for the New York Mets to get a bargain deal and bring him back on a one-year deal, I'll take David Robertson all day. I'll take him all day long. And the second guy in Wandy Peralta has really rejuvenated his career in New York, cross side of town with the Yankees. Last 3 seasons has posted an ERA in the 2s. Sample size is there. Over 40 innings pitched in 2021 and over 50 innings pitched in 2022 and 2023 respectively with the New York Yankees. Predominant off-speed type pitcher, but is a lefty and does possess a four-seam fastball that is 95 plus miles per hour. Great off-speed movement. Relies on that changeup. I truly like what Wandy Peralta has to offer. Now, like I said, the main theme is here. Whether it's the starting rotation, the DH, or the bullpen, is who's going to be willing to sign a short-term deal versus who's not. And I think that this situation plays into the Mets' strengths because I think a lot of bullpen guys, doesn't matter who you are, unless your name is Emmanuel Clase, Edwin Diaz, or Josh Hader, are not signing anything north of 2 to 3 year deals. Most of these guys on your screen, maybe with the exception of a Jordan Hicks, maybe with the exception, maybe, of a Hector Neris, maybe. Hector Neris is not even guaranteed to get anything north of 2 years. You can sign these guys for short-term deals. Now, like I said, one lefty, one righty. You add Wandy Peralta and David Robertson to the mix of this bullpen, and I'm ready to rock. I like what the Mets have. Starting off the season, you can slot in David Robertson to what he was supposed to be in 2023 before he became the closer after the Edwin Diaz injury. And you have a nice little 1-2 combo here if David Robertson gets back into 2023 New York Mets David Robertson in that version. But if he keeps on pace with what he was doing with the Marlins, you can also slot in a guy like Wandy Peralta in that 8th inning role. And I would be comfortable in doing that. Because at the end of the day, if you add another lefty with Brooks Raley, I think that's how you maximize the bullpen. You need 2 lefty arms in that bullpen. Now, like I said at the top of this podcast episode, it really is contingent on what the Mets do from here on out with the starting rotation. Because let's say they add another starter to this rotation, then what happens with Joey Lucchesi? He becomes an automatic bullpen candidate. Maybe even a long man type reliever, a la Trevor Williams a couple years ago. So, ideal duo targets for the rest of the offseason in terms of the bullpen, David Robertson, Wandy Peralta. Am I going to complain if the Mets get Matt Moore? Absolutely not. Ryan Stanek, another great righty reliever, coming from a well-established Houston Astros organization. Sign me up. Aaron Loup, I'd even be willing to take Aaron Loup back in hopes that he replicates anything close to what he replicated in 2021 and produced in 2021 with the New York Mets. What was that, a sub-1 ERA? Nuts. Struggled with the Los Angeles Angels when he went over there on a multi-year deal. But I take him back on a 1-year deal because Aaron Loup 100% is going to be in the market for a 1-year deal. He has no options there. No options with the way his season went last season. So like I said, there's a lot of different ways the New York Mets can still play out this bullpen. It remains to be seen what the market is for most of these guys. But like I said, most of these guys on your screen, maybe not a Jordan Hicks, are going to be on short-term deals, which plays directly into Mets' strengths. And the bullpen market is something that we haven't seen take off yet, like the starting pitching market. The bullpen guys, the bulk of them are still there. And the New York Mets have a lot of pickings from. So let's not panic just yet. Let me know if you agree with me, though. 2 names from this list, if you had to choose realistically, there's a lot of factors at play. Are they going to be willing to take short-term deals? And are they going to be willing to be that setup man? I didn't include Josh Hader here because he's not coming to the New York Mets on a mega deal to be a setup man. Jordan Hicks presumably also will want to be a closer. Hell, Hector Neris might even want to be a closer, and that might make him unavailable for the New York Mets to pursue. A lot of factors at play here. I appreciate everyone tuning into the podcast. This was a little bit of a melting pot of topics. I wanted to cover all 3 sort of position groups for the New York Mets, the starting rotation outlook with the Shawn Manaea signing, the DH market given the Teoscar Hernandez signing with the Dodgers, and the bullpen market, which we got into a little bit last night, and I sort of wanted to feed into. We'll be talking a lot more starting rotation, a lot more DH, and a lot more bullpen on this podcast, on the Interstate Mets Report, on the Mets Hot Stove Lives I do with my fellow Mets content creators. But a little PSA if you've made it this far in the podcast. This Thursday, 7:30 p.m., the first ever True Mets Talk podcast live stream will be airing on the channel at 7:30. I'll be joined by Mr. Dan Bartels. Make sure you go ahead and follow him on Twitter. I'm going to link his Twitter down in the description below. Make sure you're following him on Twitter. I'm going to be going live with Dan talking Mets at 7:30 this Thursday on the True Mets Talk podcast. So make sure you're tuning in to that. Hit that notifications button. Get notified when we go live or drop a pre-recorded episode. Hit that thumbs up. I thoroughly appreciate the support and hitting that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Almost to 400 subscribers. Just about 28 subscribers away from 400. And make sure you comment all your thoughts and opinions. Likewise, follow me on X and Instagram at CPNYSPORTS. It's your boy CP. This was an MLB and a Mets hot stove update as of January 8th. Let's go Mets. A lot more Mets talk from today onward until opening day surrounding this organization. Let's go Mets. It's your boy CP. I'm out. Thank you for watching the latest episode of the CP New York Sports Pod. If you enjoyed this content, make sure you hit that thumbs up, comment your thoughts and opinions, and use the lower right-hand button of this video to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.